The show that owned Britain's Sunday evenings for 18 years was built on a single man's fame, kept alive by audiences twice after ITV tried to cancel it, and hid a 200-year-old murder legend inside its most beloved pub. What you never knew about Heartbeat goes far deeper than the Yorkshire hills let on. Fact 1. It was built around one man.
Right, Rowan. That paper's on my desk when you report tomorrow.
Are you sure you want to take this further, Sergeant?
Greengrass has no respect for law and order.
Heartbeat was not developed as an ensemble drama looking for a lead. It was created specifically around Nick Berry, and without him it would not have been commissioned at all. Yorkshire Television had been watching Berry's popularity on EastEnders, where he played Simon Wicks from 1985 to 1990. He had also scored a #1 single in 1986. The combination of soap opera fame and genuine pop success made him exactly the star ITV wanted to anchor a new Sunday evening drama. The show was designed to use both sides of Berry's appeal simultaneously. As PC Nick Rowan, he would be the warm village policeman, and as himself, he would sing the theme tune, a cover of the Buddy Holly classic that reached #2 in the UK charts in 1992. Berry was initially horrified at the thought of recording the theme song. He came round to the idea, but his reluctance was genuine. The song became one of the most recognisable theme tunes in British television history. When Berry left in 1998 to spend time with his young family, the production adapted and survived for another 12 years. But the show ITV commissioned was always a vehicle for one man, who then walked away from it.
Come through, Rowan. Right, this is your roster. Now, just because you're out at Aidensfield, don't think out of sight is out of mind.
Fact 2. Kate's death was never in the plan.
Is Kate all right?
They're both fine.
Can I see him?
Of course he can.
When Niamh Cusack decided to leave after the second series, the production faced a problem that would shape the show's emotional texture for years. The marriage between Kate and Nick was, as the creator acknowledged, its emotional heart. Several alternatives to killing Kate were considered: a transfer, a different career path. The production ultimately felt that a clean exit would be dramatically unsatisfying, and that Kate's death would give Nick Rowan a complexity he wouldn't otherwise have. Kate was written out through leukemia, diagnosed in the final stages of her pregnancy. She died 6 weeks after giving birth.
It always ends up to one thing.
For a Sunday evening family drama, it was an unusually dark choice, and it worked. The practical details were sometimes unexpectedly human. The fur-lined duffel coat Kate frequently wore had been made specially because Niamh Cusack genuinely felt the cold filming in North Yorkshire. When she left, she was given it as part of her leaving gift. Kate's death gave the show something it hadn't planned for: a genuinely bereaved lead. That grief, handled carefully across subsequent series, became part of what made Heartbeat feel more substantial than its cosy surface suggested.
Oh, don't even get a kiss.
Need to feel my arms around you.
Fact 3. The title has a double meaning.
Are you really questioning my professional judgment, or are you just piqued because you didn't make an arrest?
The name Heartbeat was not chosen arbitrarily, and not simply because of the Buddy Holly song. It was selected to carry two meanings simultaneously, both considered essential to the show's identity. The first is the obvious one: the police beat, the rhythm of a village policeman's daily patrol. Bobby is British slang for a police officer, and the beat is the territory he walks. Heartbeat captured that sense of routine and community. The second meaning was medical, a deliberate reference to the doctors and medical storylines woven throughout the series. Kate Rowan as a doctor was not incidental.
It's chickenpox, Ellen.
I didn't realise, Doctor. I should never have brought them.
Not to worry.
She was part of what the title promised. Both meanings also connected to the emotional register the show was aiming for. Heartbeat suggests warmth, pulse, something steady and reassuring. That was precisely the Sunday evening mood ITV was selling. The Buddy Holly song sealed it. Already carrying that quality of bittersweet nostalgia, its title aligned perfectly with what the show wanted to say about itself. 3 meanings in one word, and it was unusually well thought through.
We'll take them straight home, though. Marilyn's not too bad now, but if she gets worse, you'll need to keep her in bed.
Fact 4. Gothland was overwhelmed by tourists.
Hello, Gina.
Have you caught the Nicky yet?
I'm working on it.
Well, I hope you find them, because you can't get lace work like that in Ashford, you know.
The village of Gothland in North Yorkshire, which serves as the filming location for the fictional Aidensfield, experienced a transformation after Heartbeat began that its residents had not anticipated and did not entirely welcome. Tourism increased dramatically from the early 1990s onward. Visitors arrived to see the locations they recognised from the screen. The Gothland Hotel became known to viewers as the Aidensfield Arms, and tourists arrived expecting the fictional pub rather than the real one. The village station, part of the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, appeared as Aidensfield Station and became so associated with the programme that Hornby Railways later produced a model of it as part of a Heartbeat-themed range. For residents of an actual working village, the sustained attention was not always comfortable. The streets that appeared as a tranquil 1960s idyll were real streets where real people lived, and the volume of visitors disrupted that reality in ways that were sometimes overwhelming. The show sold a version of Gothland that the village then had to live inside, a dynamic several British series have created, where the fictional place becomes more famous than the real one, and the real place must accommodate the fiction indefinitely. If you're enjoying this, do us a small favour and hit subscribe. It helps us keep making videos about the classic television you grew up with. Now, back to Heartbeat.
Where are you going?
Out.
Not again.
Oh, Jack, leave the girl alone. She can't have a nose stuck in a book all the time.
Fact 5. Bill Maynard's exit broke hearts.
These are the children I rang you about, Mother Superior, for sick bay. And, this is Mr. Greengrass. He's had a very nasty experience. He's in shock and he needs a bath.
Claude Jeremiah Greengrass, the lovable scheming village rogue played by Bill Maynard, was one of Heartbeat's most beloved characters. His relationship with PC Rowan, all gruff mutual tolerance and unexpressed affection, was one of the show's defining dynamics. Maynard left in 2000 due to declining health. His character simply departed for a Caribbean cruise with his sister, a gentle exit that reflected both the show's affection for Greengrass and the reality that Maynard could no longer sustain. Regular production. The production handled his departure with care, keeping the details private and framing the exit in a way that left the door open without making promises that couldn't be kept. Maynard continued making occasional public appearances in later years, including Celebrity Pointless in 2018. He died later that year from injuries sustained after falling from his mobility scooter on Good Friday. A quiet, sad ending for one of British television's most warmly remembered character actors. Greengrass without Maynard was a concept the show never attempted. Some characters are so bound to the actor playing them that recasting is unthinkable. The show knew it and never tried.
I say, your dog's a menace. Call it off.
He's only doing his job. He's a guard dog.
Fact 6. Derek Fowles spanned the whole run.
Is this your wife's influence by any chance?
No, Sergeant.
Just because a lad imagines he's James Bond, that's no reason to waste ratepayers' money on head shrinkers.
Of all the cast members who passed through Heartbeat across 18 series, only 2 appeared from the very first episode to the very last. William Simons as Alf Ventress and Derek Fowles as Sergeant Oscar Blaketon. Fowles was already well established when Heartbeat began. He had spent years as Bernard in Yes Minister, one of the sharpest political comedies the BBC ever produced, and before that as Mr. Derek on The Basil Brush Show. His character Blaketon went through a complete arc, from authoritarian sergeant to retired landlord of the Aidensfield Arms. The character's evolution was one of the more thoughtfully sustained long-term storylines the show managed. William Simons, who completed the same full-run achievement as Ventress, passed away in 2019. His agent described him simply as a wonderful, kind, warm, witty, lovely human being. It was the kind of tribute people offer when they mean every word. 2 actors, 18 series, the complete journey from beginning to end. In a show that cycled through 5 lead detectives and dozens of cast changes, that continuity was the quiet spine around which everything else organised itself.
They're counting on you.
I said I've got so much on. Why can't you play?
Previous engagement.
Fact 7. The show outran its own era.
When you can't stand the pain any longer, just think of that beautiful baby.
Ready to go, Dr. Ron?
Thank you.
Heartbeat was set in the 1960s, the North Riding of Yorkshire during that decade, with all the period detail that implies. When the show began in 1992, it was depicting events roughly 30 years in the past. The problem was that it ran for 18 years. By the time it ended in 2010, the notional 1960s setting had become increasingly complicated. The show never explicitly advanced its timeline, which meant the gap between the fictional world and the real one had grown from 30 years to nearly 50. Characters aged visibly on screen while the world around them remained stuck in a decade receding further into history each year. The production managed it by simply not drawing attention to it. As one observer noted, the show's settings felt more like the 1950s than the 1960s in spirit. It was always selling nostalgia for a version of England that had already partly vanished before the cameras started rolling. By 2010, Heartbeat was a programme set in the 1960s, made since 1992, watched in 2010. The layers of temporal displacement had become genuinely unusual, a show that had been nostalgic from its very first frame and simply continued indefinitely for 18 years.
Well, he says he can't give me any time off to study, and he'll only release me for promotion classes if we're not busy.
Sounds like he's frightened of the competition.
Fact 8. ITV tried to cancel it twice.
Well, do you know when he'll be back from the golf club? OK, yeah, I'll try again this afternoon. Thank you.
Heartbeat's 18-year run was not a smooth success. ITV made serious attempts to end the show on more than one occasion, and at least once reversed the decision because of audience reaction. In 2001, ITV announced cutbacks for its long-running dramas, with Heartbeat named alongside London's Burning and Peak Practice. A spokesman acknowledged the tension. The temptation was to cancel these shows for new commissions, but their audience loyalty made that commercially risky. Heartbeat survived and continued. When it finally ended in 2010, ITV issued a statement acknowledging the show as an important part of the television landscape, while confirming it would not return. A show that has run for 15 years becomes part of the schedule's architecture. Viewers had built habits around it. Advertisers had built campaigns around it. Ending it required a certain courage that ITV took a long time to find. The show that twice survived cancellation attempts finally concluded on its own terms, which is a better ending than most long-running dramas manage. Heartbeat lasted because audiences refused to let it go.
Who's that you're calling, Rowan?
Derek Lightfoot, Sarge. I just wanted to check out one or two things Miss Williamson told me last night.
Fact 9. The music cost a fortune.
This is Oscar Blaketon, Ashfordley. We have a problem, sir. One of my officers has been abducted.
One of Heartbeat's most distinctive qualities was its use of authentic 1960s music throughout each episode. Genuine recordings from the era, carefully selected to match mood and story. It gave the show a sound that no other British drama of the period quite matched. What viewers didn't see was the licensing cost. Clearing the rights to use original recordings by artists like the Beatles, Dusty Springfield and dozens of others represented a significant and recurring budget commitment for every series. This cost created complications on DVD. When episodes were released, original music sometimes had to be replaced with cheaper alternatives. Because licensing agreements for broadcast did not extend to home video, fans found that scenes they remembered sounded different. The emotional resonance of one song replaced by something that filled the space, but carried none of the same weight. The final episode of Nick Berry's run, showing his character leaving for Canada, was broadcast with John Denver's leaving on a jet plane as the closing music. On DVD and foreign broadcasts, this was replaced with Don't Let the Sun, Catch You, Crying by Jerry and the Pacemakers. A different song with a different tone that changes the feeling of the scene entirely. The music was never just atmosphere, it was part of the story. And the gap between what audiences heard on television and what ended up on DVD is a telling reminder that in television, even the most carefully chosen details are always subject to negotiation. Fact 10. Gothland's pub hid a real legend.
Hey! Jack! Back on fire!
Among the many authentic Yorkshire details woven into Heartbeat's fictional world, one of the strangest concerned a real local tradition that the show borrowed for its fictional pub. In the early series of Heartbeat, when the Aidensfield Arms was run by George Ward, it was occasionally mentioned that the fire in the bar had never been allowed to go out since the pub first opened. It was presented as a charming piece of village tradition. The detail was drawn from a real inn. The Saltersgate Inn on the Whitby to Pickering Road, close to Gothland, was said to have kept its fire burning continuously for over 200 years. The legend behind it was considerably darker than anything Heartbeat chose to explore on screen. A local tradition held that an early landlord had murdered a customs officer and buried him beneath the fireplace, then lit a fire above to conceal the body and had never been able to let it go out since. A 200-year-old fire maintained above a murder victim. The show took the image and left the darkness behind, using the tradition as local colour without drawing attention to where it had come from. It is a small example of something Heartbeat did throughout its run, reaching into the real history and folklore of North Yorkshire for texture and detail, then presenting that material in a form gentle enough for Sunday evening. The landscape the show filmed was always stranger and darker than the version that ended up on screen.